Every patchwork pattern is going to tell you what size to cut your patches. We're going to start with basic squares because everything you do is going to be a variation on that. I have prepared this fabric by pressing it flat. It's my favorite size, a 1/2 yard. I will fold it, now it's 2 layers, to make it into 4 layers. I never cut more than 4 layers at a time. This is a rotary cutter. It's to be respected. It is nothing more than a round razor blade and can do a lot of damage. It's also a great tool. This one opens by pulling down on one side, exposing the razor blade. Many others operate differently, but essentially they're all the same. I tell my students that you may not put this down after using until it is closed. Leaving it open on your table is a scary thing to do. So we're going to cut this 1/2 yard. It's now 4 layers thick. And the first thing that needs to go is the selvage. That's the edge of the fabric that is unusable. What you do is take your measuring tool and put it on top of the fabric that you do want to keep, not the part that you're going to cut away. Now the best way to cut this selvage off is to have it on my right side. For people who are left-handed, it will be the opposite. So I turn my work around so that the part that I'm going to cut away is on my right side. You'll notice that I don't have the fabric lined up with the mat and the ruler, and that's because you only need to use one of the measuring tools. So I'm going to put my ruler so that there's a straight line right on the fold, and then I'm going to open my blade and push the blade away from me, keeping my fingers safely away from the cutting edge. And it's gone, and I close the blade. I'm leaving the ruler on the fabric and turning it back around the way I started. We're pretending that the pattern we're making today tells us to cut a 3.5 inch patch. That will include the seam allowance. The instructions, when they say cut 3.5 inches, really mean cut 3.5 inches. So I'm going to move the ruler 1, 2, 3.5 inches so that the 3.5 inch mark lines up with the left-hand side. And I'm going to cut away from myself and remove the fabric that we're not going to use. We're now going to cut this into 3.5 inch squares. I'm moving my ruler over, lining up this left-hand edge and cutting away the uneven edge. And it's gone. I'm now going to move my mat again without touching my ruler because it stabilizes the fabric. Find 3.5 inches this way, line it up, and I've got a 3.5 inch square. In fact, I have 4 of them. And they're identical. I have already cut the squares, and I want to show you how to cut a 3.5 inch diamond. So I've prepared another 3.5 inch strip that I cut the same as I did before. And I'm going to switch rulers. This is the 60-degree ruler, and it's marked similarly, harder to see because the numbers are black, and I'm putting it on the 3.5 inch mark on the bottom. I'm cutting away an edge, and that's now gone. And now I'm taking it and putting the 3.5 inch line right on the bottom and lining up so that the edge of the ruler hits this point. And I'm cutting again. And now I have 4 identical 60-degree diamonds. This shape, this diamond, is commonly used in tumbling blocks patterns. Also, Kate and I tend to use diamonds quite a lot. We do a lot of quilts with just diamond shapes that repeat across rows, and I think they're very effective. I'm going to show you a couple of other usual cuts that are made from squares. You all know this is a square, and that is probably 90% of what you're going to use when you make quilts. The other shape that is commonly used is a triangle. And to make a half square triangle, you cut a square in half. Now I've marked this with a dark pencil line so you can see how you would cut this. What you do is you take your ruler on the 45-degree line, put it in one corner, line it up, and then you cut from corner to corner, making 2 half square triangles. You'll use a lot of these. The last thing that you will use in most of your quilts is the quarter square triangle. Cutting a square into quarters. Again, you place your ruler from corner to corner, cutting once, and then very carefully, without touching the fabric, you cut in the opposite way, corner to corner. And the result is 4 quarter square triangles. You're going to find on the market a lot of gimmicks and gizmos to make this easier. Honestly, I think this is the easiest way. It's the most precise way for me, and I still haven't found anybody who can do it quicker than I do, so I recommend doing this the old-fashioned way, just the way I showed you.